I'm going to be doing a quick video on how to field strip the Glock 21. This particular model has a few little upgrades on it. So first of all, obviously release that mag, make sure there's nothing in here, check the chamber, nothing in the barrel, dry fire in a proper safe direction. You'll notice obviously one thing is the barrel. It is threaded. I do have a suppressor. I've got the Octane 45 HD suppressor, so that's very fun to run on this this particular weapon. Also got the Glock brand laser light combo, ambidextrous flips on either side. This one it is in laser only mode. There's completely off, there's laser only, there's light only, and then there's laser light combo. So several options there. I've had that light a long time. Actually ended up having a little bit of an issue out of it after honestly probably about 8 or 9 years. Talked to Glock, they sent me a brand new one. Really love their product, and I love their customer service. So just doing a real quick overview of how to field strip this weapon. Some of the additional items that I have is extended mag release. I also have an extended slide release here, so that really helps on these weapons that you can really get your fingers on it, so that helps. This has the replaced firing pin, spring, trigger. I'm running, it's just over probably 3.5 pound trigger on this weapon. So obviously this is not a personal carry weapon. This is in all honesty, it's just a ton of fun at the shooting range. So break it out and be able to shoot that the suppressor with my buddies and everything. So this is definitely not a personal carry weapon. I actually do not modify my personal carry weapons just to be on the safe side. I leave the standard trigger on and everything like that. So essentially, in order to field strip this weapon, I do have to take off the protective covering there for the extended barrel in order to be able to slide completely off. So what you'll do, we have already checked this gun, safety checked this gun. So once you're ready, you actually want to make sure that you dry fire this weapon in a safe distance. That way that the gun will be ready to take apart. What dry firing does, it'll actually allow this weapon to the slide to release forward. So if you for some reason are having troubles and cannot get this thing to release, just make sure that has been dry fired and the trigger is back. So what I do is I come at the weapon like I'm actually going to hold it and actually shoot the weapon. But what I'll do is I'll come in and just kind of rotate my hand up and actually grab the slide. And what I'm going to do is actually kind of squeeze my hand a little bit as I'm doing that, and that'll pull that slide back slightly. You don't have to do it too far, just a little slight pull back, and then you'll actually notice the takedown lever that I told you. There's actually one here just above the trigger and one groove here just above the trigger. That is actually the same bar that goes all the way through the weapon. So you will actually be grabbing that on each side and pulling down. You can kind of see a little bit of air straight through the weapon right there, where the top part is the slide bar, the bottom part you can actually see straight through. So you'll grab that on both sides and pull down, and as you do that, it'll allow that slide to go forward. So come at the weapon, rotate the hands up and over, and just give us tight grip on there to release that slide a little bit. Pull down on both sides of that slide release lever, and as you're letting go of that slide, it'll actually slide right off the weapon. And basically there you go. This weapon has just been cleaned and oiled, so you're going to notice a ton of oil on here. I essentially don't clean my Glocks anywhere near as much as some people might like to. I'm one of those type guys that knows that Glock can be put through just about anything and still function. So I did put a very heavy clean on this Glock not too long ago. and then a lot of oil just to kind of get it oiled up. I like to rack the slide a whole lot just to get everything down in there, and then sometimes I'll actually come in and dry up some of this oil. But essentially, while you've got your weapon like this, you can actually see here when you grab those the slide stop piece, you can actually see that functioning on the inside, that piece going down. That's what actually allows that slide to come straight off. So make sure and put a real good clean down in all these little porous areas down here and back here on your trigger mechanism. Make sure and get a good clean. That was actually solid black when I first opened this gun before I cleaned it. So actually most all of these little metal pieces were solid black. So it's good to get a good heavy coat of oil on there and then let it sit for a little while. Dig down into there and really free up all that oil stuff, and then come back a little bit later and wipe some of that down so that you'll actually get rid of some of that oil debris. So there's the lower section, and now you've got your actual slide piece. The spring here, essentially when it's ready, it actually rests down on the actual barrel. So what you do is you put a little pressure there, that spring just comes right on off of there, and the barrel, you actually kind of just grab that little piece right there and you can just move that barrel right on out of there. So for a field strip purposes, do a heavy clean with some kind of good cleaner, dissolvent. Get down in all these little nooks and crannies, and then after you're done, it's real good to go back once again with that heavy coat of oil. Allow that to set up and really break down some additional gunk out of that gun, and then I like to come back through. I'll probably do it tomorrow, and I'll come back through and wipe this down a little bit more and just get it all nice and clean and shiny. So essentially your barrel here, you can see this is a replacement barrel. It's the exact same minus these little threads on the end that come in it, but as far as the look of the barrel, everything's the same. Essentially, to put it back, you just do everything in reverse order. So you sit this down, you put it right through the hole in the slide, and when you sit it in here, it you can move it around a little bit, and you actually push it back, and it falls right into place, locks right in there, so you know for sure that it's in there right. So you can hear that slide right down into that spot right there, and essentially what that's doing is it's getting seated right there up against the slide. So once you hear that, you'll know that that's in there. Take this spring and put it inside that little front hole there. Essentially what that does is just kind of puts pressure there against that, and you'll actually push down on that spring and seat it down on the barrel. There's a little notch in the barrel, and you'll actually want to put that spring right inside of that little notch down there at the base of the barrel. So put a little pressure on that barrel, get that thing down there, and when you look at it, that spring will be perpendicular, running parallel with the actual slide. So if it's kind of tilted sideways, up, down, whatever, you want to make sure that it's just perfectly centered right there. Then you just do everything in reverse. You take your upper and lower pieces. You'll notice on the Glock it's got these metal pieces here at the front and here at the back. You actually slide that channel of that slide right down onto those metal pieces, and it actually starts coming on back. So as you're bringing it back, you'll kind of work it back. You don't ever want to just jam it back unless you're in a dire emergency, but basically you just kind of want to get it on there and make sure everything's lined up. And as you start getting that back towards the back of that weapon there, you'll actually kind of do like you normally would to rack the weapon. Push back and forward. Once you do that, it sounds exactly like you've just chambered around. You'll see that the trigger now springs forward. So this gun is properly put back together now. Dry fire it in a safe direction. You can tell that everything functions normally. You didn't try to point the gun down like that and all of a sudden the slide falls back off. So when that trigger is back and you rack that thing, you do this several times to work in the oil and everything after you clean it. I like to make sure and get it good and clean. Then all of a sudden you'll see the trigger's forward now. Dry fire that in a safe direction if you want to ensure But basically that is it. That's how to field strip a Glock 21, and also with a couple of extra little parts on it. So essentially everything is exactly the same for pretty much all Glocks. So it shouldn't be any different. There's plenty of YouTube videos out there, but if you've got the Glock 21, that's how you get it done. Take care.